Welcome back to the Ross Bolin podcast. I am your host, the ghost of Barbara Walters. First of all, we just passed 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube and also those of you who aren't, but simply subscribed on YouTube to support the show. It means a lot. Go to youtube.com/at the Ross Bolin podcast and subscribe today for full video of every episode, as well as funny clips from the show. Now, to start today's show, I'm going to ask a very simple yet complicated question. Are we all doing our best? My wife and my therapist, not the same person, both believe the answer to be yes, and I trust those two people more than most. They believe that everyone is doing their best at all times, that they're doing the best they're able to do in any given moment, which is a difficult pill for me to swallow because I see so many seemingly awful people running around this planet doing straight up bad and don't like the idea that their dog shit behaviors are all excused if they are all, in fact, just doing their best. So to attempt to solve this debate, let's use an example that this show has focused on over the years. Lazy clown humans who refuse to return their shopping cart to the designated cart corral, instead allowing it to roll dangerously around the parking lot, denting cars, smashing into innocent pedestrians, and generally causing widespread mayhem. My immediate gut reaction is that any person who doesn't take the time to walk their shopping cart over to the corral, which is so clearly designated to collect carts to prevent them from doing damage to vehicles or destroying an innocent elderly shopper's ACL when a gust of wind sends the cart cruising 20 miles per hour across the concrete, is clearly not doing their fucking best. That's just selfish, shitty, trash behavior. How could that be someone's best? Well, for the sake of playing devil's advocate to my own gut reaction to such a violation of societal codes, maybe this hypothetical human is having the worst day of their entire life, or is in a rush to get home because they just realized they left their dog in the backyard and it's about to rain, or completely spaced out because they're high on marijuana and forgot the cart corral even existed. Or this is literally their first time ever at a grocery store because they were doing missionary work in an underdeveloped country for the last 30 years of their life. After all, you never know what someone else is going through or what they've been through.
You little fuckers have no idea the life I've lived.
Maybe this hypothetical person's parents were total pieces of shit who never, not even once, returned their cart to the proper place, and this hypothetical person witnessed this trash behavior over and over as a child, and it instilled in their mind that this is appropriate and acceptable. It's generational trauma incurred by decades of failure on behalf of their parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents. They come from a long line of parking lot pariahs. Maybe this person's own car has been hit by stray carts so many times that they broke and decided, fuck it, I'm never participating in the cart corral again because I've been wronged so many times that now I wish to participate in the wronging. Maybe they genuinely don't know any better because they don't listen to this podcast or have decent friends or role models around to show them the light. Or maybe they're just lazy pieces of shit that day because they're emotionally drained from a tough few months at work where their boss has been a real asshole, blaming them for every issue that pops up. So last week they got laid off, and on top of that, they're going through a divorce and also invested a bunch of their money in obscure cryptocurrencies. The point is, we all go around judging the world and people around us by our own set of standards and principles, when in reality, no two of us are playing with the same deck of cards. You might be like me and hear these potential circumstances and see them as excuses. But we are all individual snowflakes, if you will. No two of us exactly alike. No two of us experiencing the same reality, even, you could argue. In many ways, we all live in our own little worlds. And in some of our worlds, returning the shopping cart to the corral is simply not important or requires too much energy and effort. But what about real criminals? What about someone who robs a bank or does a murder? You may be asking. I know. I know, I'm with you. This is exactly why I struggle with the argument that everyone is just doing their best all of the time. In the end, I think the question becomes, are human beings inherently good or inherently bad? And when I really think about it, when I really truly consider whether or not human beings want to do things that are universally seen as negative or bad, or if they're just conditioned and programmed in a way that makes those negative or bad acts inevitable, I end up sadly siding with the latter. All behaviors are learned behaviors in one way or another. All shortcomings can somehow be chalked up to a lack of alternatives. So to take it to a personal place, right? Someday, you might be listening to an episode of this podcast from the year 2020, and as the closing music plays, think to yourself, well, that really wasn't Ross's best. Now, do you think I intentionally did a less than stellar job that day? Or was I going through some shit that made me incapable of doing a good show? Was I just doing my best? Or was I intentionally bad? It's a crazy philosophical conversation that I think is worth considering for all of us, whether or not we are just doing our best. And the part of it that rubs me the wrong way is I feel like it removes all personal responsibility. It operates as a blanket excuse for trash behavior. What am I supposed to just watch some asshole refuse to return their cart to the corral and think to myself, well, Ross, now, that person is just doing their best? Unfortunately, I think the answer is yes. This is why I'm so high on therapy as a tool for people, because as a person myself, as a man, there are many things that I was not taught by my parents or through my education in schools or through friends or TV or movies that I've had to learn through really difficult self-exploration and therapy. And I'll give you a heavy example before moving on. Through therapy over the last couple years in particular, I've discovered the difficult truth that I was not a good partner in my first marriage. I was not a good husband. And it's not that I chose that path. It's that I lacked the relationship skills to properly navigate a lifelong commitment to anyone, really, because I had a terrible relationship with myself, which frankly prevented that from being a possibility. I didn't like me very much. And I had developed a ton of terrible habits in the way of coping, self-care, and thought patterns that rendered me incapable of conducting myself properly in a relationship. I wasn't intentionally shitty, but I wasn't educated or in tune with myself enough to see where I was fucking up. Now, because therapy has provided me with the opportunity for personal growth and learning on a level that I have not discovered anywhere else, I've begun correcting some of those previous patterns of behavior, and doing my best is fortunately a lot better than it has ever been before. So maybe that's just what the human experience is all about. Respecting the fact that we're all in different places in our journey as people, just doing our best. And our responsibility to each other is that we always strive to be better, to raise the bar of what is considered our best, rather than just coasting along on the same level of shit and judging other people for failing to return their carts to the corral. Maybe next time I see someone acting in a way that I see as shitty, instead of judging them in their journey, I look inward and be thankful that I was gifted the tools and wherewithal to avoid that behavior myself. Because Lord knows none of us are perfect, but we could all be better. So in a world where we're huffing and puffing constantly about what the other idiot humans are doing or not doing all the time and seemingly becoming more and more miserable as a result, maybe it's time we try empathy for a change. I'm the ghost of Barbara Walters. Thank you for coming to my Ross Talk. And if that opening segment just blew your fucking mind, maybe our first sponsor of the day can help you deal with the harsh realities of being a human. Today's episode is brought to you by Hemp Hop at hemphop.co. Hemp Hop initially started as a delivery service to get the finest hemp products directly to the people that need them most. They quickly became manufacturers, and today, 4 years later, are fully vertically integrated with cultivation and processing They have an incredible selection whether you're looking to elevate your vibes or just relax and not get stoned. Hip Hop has what you're looking for. Hip Hop carries a huge variety of vape carts, types, and flavors, with live resin vapes being the top seller by far. And as I've said before, I've been using one of these live resin vapes for a couple months now, at night before sleep in particular. They help me calm down. They don't get me high. They don't get me stoned. They just help me chill. But also their full spectrum vapes and Delta 8 vapes are extremely popular and effective options, available in half gram and full gram sizes. Plus they have edibles, Hip Hop's proprietary gummies, and Belgian chocolates, which are actually outselling their smokable products every single day. People obviously love edibles as a discreet and effective option for ingesting cannabinoids, and Hip Hop is here to provide only the highest quality edibles for you, their beloved customers. Hip Hop also carries the highest quality, cleanest grown hemp flower available anywhere for the smokers out there. They don't put anything out that they wouldn't eat or smoke themselves, which is exactly why I love having them on board as a sponsor. Also, one of their employees, Melissa, who brokered this sponsorship, is one of our listeners. They carry topicals, tinctures, capsules, bath bombs, and dog treats as well. Hip Hop offers shipping worldwide, anywhere hemp is legal, with customers in every single U.S. state and all throughout Europe. And for you, RBP gang, who are of age, 21 or older, Hip Hop is providing a 10% off discount when you use the code RBP at checkout on hiphop.co. But if you place an order of $200 or more, use the code RBP20 and you'll get 20% off your order. Just go to hemphop, HEMPHOP, hiphop.co. Use code RBP for 10% off or code RBP20 for 20% off your order of $200 or more. That's hiphop.co.
Grab your light, this is Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Today's Stuff to Wikipedia when you're high is Thurl Ravenscroft. It's a hell of a first name. Thurl. 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 Ravenscroft is spelled exactly as it sounds. Thurl was an American actor and bass singer. He was formerly known as one of the booming voices behind Kellogg's Frosted Flakes animated spokesman Tony the Tiger for more than 5 decades. He was also the uncredited vocalist for the song "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" from the classic Christmas television special Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He was also the voice of Kirby the Vacuum in The Brave Little Toaster, for those of you who were traumatized by that movie, and Monstro the Whale in Pinocchio, and did countless other characters in songs and films over the course of his career. He began, Thurl, working as a voice actor in 1939 and continued until his death in 2005 at the age of 91 years old. Ravenscroft did voiceover work and singing for Disney in various films and Disneyland attractions, which were later featured at Walt Disney World. The best-known attractions and rides where you might hear his voice include the Haunted Mansion, Country Bear Jamboree, Mark Twain Riverboat, Pirates of the Caribbean, Disneyland Railroad, and Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. But as I mentioned, one of Ravenscroft's best-known uncredited works is as the vocalist for the song "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." His name was accidentally omitted from the credits, leading many to believe that the cartoon's narrator, Boris Karloff, sang the song, while others cited Tennessee Ernie Ford as the song's signature voice. The song, now credited to Ravenscroft, peaked on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart at number 32 for the week ending January 2nd, 2021. Thanks to "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," Thurl Ravenscroft has officially hit the top 40 as a solo artist. And for more than 50 years, he was the uncredited voice of Tony the Tiger for Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. His booming bass gave the cereal's tiger mascot a voice with the catchphrase, "They're great." That was Thurl. You've heard it a million times. That's Thurl Ravenscroft's voice. Crazy shit. Amazing career. You can go check out the Wikipedia page and see all the different Disney films and works that he was involved in. He did a lot of songs in a lot of different movies as well. On top of all that, during World War II, Ravenscroft served as a civilian navigator contracted to the U.S. Air Transport Command, spending 5 years flying courier missions across the North and South Atlantic. Among the notables carried on board his flights were Winston Churchill and Bob Hope. As he told an interviewer, I flew Winston Churchill to a conference in Algiers and flew Bob Hope to the troops a couple of times, so it was fun. Truly, the voice of multiple generations. That's today's Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High. Thurl Ravenscroft. Today's episode is also brought to you by Manscaped. This is a public service announcement. Manscaped now has beard products and is going even further with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Go ahead and tell the world the leaders in below-the-waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The new Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. Time to upgrade your game by going to manscaped.com and using our code RBP for 20% off plus free shipping. You may have noticed my facial hair is looking less patchy and more professionally groomed than ever before in recent weeks, and that's thanks to Manscaped's new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It is the ultimate package that makes it easier than ever to craft your signature look. It all starts with the cordless electric Beard Hedger. The Beard Hedger is tough on hair, but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. This waterproof cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. The Pro Kit also comes with 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. This includes Manscaped's beard shampoo and conditioner, beard oil, and beard balm to moisturize, style, and shimmer your new beard. Plus, the kit has 3 free gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors. With a nice beard, your face is perfectly groomed, right? Wrong. You need to keep an eye out for those tough-to-trim ear and nose hairs. The brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 offers improved blades and skin-safe technology with no tugging guaranteed. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes. Now that you have your face looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full-body grooming experience to get your downstairs mix-up looking right and tight as well. Good news. The Performance Package 4.0 now comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and all the other below-the-waist grooming products Manscaped is known for. Your significant other will be delighted to see you covering all bases, if you know what I mean. So get 20% off and free shipping with our code RBP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at MANSCAPED. Manscaped.com. Use our code RBP. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And now, for some insane headlines of the day. We covered Disney-related history with Thurl Ravenscroft and Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High. Now get a load of this guy. Here's your first headline. He visited Disneyland 2,995 days in a row. It's now a Guinness World Record. 2,995 days in a row. From NPR. A California man recently set a Guinness World Record for most consecutive visits to the Disneyland theme park with 2,995 straight days of visits. This breaks down to 8 years, 3 months, and 13 days. 8 years, 3 months, and 13 days spent consecutively going to Disneyland. Who is he? Jeff writes. He lives about 30 minutes from Disneyland in Huntington Beach, California, He was at the theme park on New Year's Day in 2012 when he and his friends noticed an advertisement for an extra Disney day. It was an event celebrating February 29th, the additional day coming up that leap year. Wrights told NPR, "We were joking around. How could it be an extra day if you didn't use the others?" It's one way of looking at it, I suppose. So they set out to use all the other days, too. They were unemployed at the time. I think that goes without saying. So this was an opportunity to do something positive with their time instead of dwelling on their situation, he said. Those were the only 2 options, dwell on the unemployment or hit Disneyland every fucking day. He said, "We could still do job hunting in the morning or night, and we got exercise. And you were always networking because you never knew who you were talking to." I love how good of a job he did at spending 2,995 consecutive days at Disneyland into some type of a positive lifestyle choice. It says, once they reached their goal of visiting the park all 366 days that year, he just kept going. How did he keep it up? That first year, Wrights was able to go to the park daily with an annual pass that his family gifted him in December of 2011. He later got a job at a medical center and began purchasing his own passes. That's a big step. Big step. Big life step that I think we all look forward to. It says, to him, the daily visits were a constant source of joy. He said, "It was my gym. It was my happy hour. It was entertainment, all in one package. You know, instead of paying for a separate membership for doing lots of different things, it was all in one package with my annual pass. Okay. I don't know how it qualifies as a gym. And really, happy hour, were you drinking every day that you went to Disneyland? Like, was alcohol an everyday part of this? Because that happy hour generally is considered to be, you know, partaking in adult beverages in a social setting. Is that at a certain time of day? I'm just trying to understand here. I'm just trying to understand what would drive a man to spend 2,995 days doing any fucking thing that many days in a row. That's a lot of but anyway, Wright said that at the beginning, the annual pass would cost around $500. In the later years, it was $1,400. It's that goddamn inflation. It got him. He said, so for me, going every day, even at the end, was only about $3.50 a day. So about the same as someone going to buy a cup of coffee. Okay. Doesn't sound as financially devastating when you put it in those terms. And then it says, what happened to his streak? Wright said his last day at the park was March 13th, 2020, the last day before the theme park closed due to the pandemic. He was 5 days away from reaching the 3,000 mark. And yes, it was Friday the 13th. Fucking COVID, man. When you think of all this shit that it threw off in the world, he was 5 days from 3,000, and they shut it down. They should have let him, just him, solo, Wrights. They should have let his ass back in the park for 5 more days. That should have been his reward for going 2,995 days in a row. The fact that they didn't tells me a lot about Disney as a corporation. It says, to Wrights, though, being forced to stop along with the rest of the country was better than the alternative. What was the alternative? Is this about to take a dark turn? He says that ending his visits at an arbitrary round number on a day when other people were still visiting the park would have probably brought some FOMO. Okay. He wanted an odd number. Says he hasn't been back since that day. Holy shit. He went 2,995 days in a row, stopped because of the pandemic in 2020, and has not gone back. And it says while he wants to return at some point, he doesn't have concrete plans yet. He said he doesn't have any bad feelings toward Disney, although he wasn't a fan of the new Magic Key annual pass system that began during the pandemic and requires reservations before visits. He said, for me personally, I didn't like the idea that I could go every day before whenever I wanted, whereas now you have to make reservations. Yeah, man, that's a pain in the dick right there. You were going every fucking day. What difference does it make? Just sign up for every day. It says in the meantime, he has replaced his Disneyland visits with catching up on shows, going to concerts or hikes, and spending time with his girlfriend. I'm supposed to believe this guy's got a girl. If she exists, and that's a big if, I want to place a wager that they cosplay as Mickey and Minnie Mouse in the bedroom, sexually. What an absolutely insane use of time. But then again, as someone who spent 1,000 hours of 2020 playing video games live on Twitch, or also the opening of this podcast talking about how you never know what someone else is going through, who am I to judge? 2,995 days in a row. That is 8 fucking years. Unbelievable. An unbelievable amount of time to spend in Disneyland. And that it started out with just, we could do the 366 days on this leap year. And then he just didn't stop. And then he was 5 days from the 3,000 mark. 8 years, 3 months, and 13 days of his life consecutively going to Disneyland. That is 2,995 days is wild as hell. He's the Cal Ripken of Disneyland. That record is never going to be broken. I don't know whether to be impressed or incredibly depressed. But I digress. Next headline. Pornhub acquired by Canadian private equity firm Ethical Capital Partners as Netflix doc debuts. Oh, for God's sakes. From Deadline. MindGeek, the parent of Pornhub, it's the parent company, okay? The world's biggest porn site and other adult entertainment platforms, was acquired by a Canadian private equity firm called Ethical Capital Partners, or ECP, for an undisclosed amount. ECP, Ethical Capital Partners, launched in 2022 in Montreal. Its website says it's good at dealing with problem companies seeking out tech-focused investment and advisory opportunities, quote, in industries that require principled ethical leadership, have legal and regulatory complexity, and that put a value on transparency and accountability. Pornhub, founded in 2007, has over 76 million monthly active registered members. That's just active registered members, 76 million. And over 130 million adults visit the site daily for, quote, the best selection of award-winning performers, the most extensive collection of high-quality videos, and a safe, user-friendly experience for viewers, end quote, according to the deal announcement here. But Pornhub, for those of you who pay attention to this sort of thing, has been plagued by scandal and is the subject of the new Netflix documentary, Money Shot, The Pornhub Story, by Suzanne Hillinger, one of the two, produced by Alex Gibney's Jigsaw Productions, which recently hit Netflix, like within the last couple weeks, this thing came out. Money Shot, The Pornhub Story. I haven't watched it yet. Don't know if I will. Feel like I'm actually, over the years I've read, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Over the years, I've read several different stories that delved into the ethical issues taking place at the company. And I've been lucky enough to have relationships with a few different people who have educated me on the issues with what we see as like the mainstream porn sites. And this being the biggest one, there have been a lot of problems. Like in late 2020, New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof accused MindGeek, the parent company of Pornhub, of sex trafficking, child pornography, and R-word videos. Visa and MasterCard suspended its credit card services for the site, which disabled millions of accounts and moved to ban unverified uploads. Essentially, there was a point on Pornhub where people were uploading revenge porn, all kinds of bad shit, underage performances, or, I guess, technically sex-trafficked performances. I don't know what the legal jargon is around that, but things that shouldn't have been on the site were put on the site. And that stuff was kept on the site because it made MindGeek money in the form of advertising dollars, in the form of eyeballs and people visiting the site. So it's just a crazy story. The irony of the world's largest porn site with a checkered history of potentially illegal activities being purchased by a Canadian private equity firm called Ethical Capital Partners is almost too much for my brain to handle. But I cannot deny this is one of the most 2023 headlines to be spawned thus far. What a time to be alive. March Madness picks back up tomorrow, Thursday, and continues on Friday with the Sweet 16 after one of the most exciting and surprising opening rounds of the tournament in recent memory. If you're a sports bettor looking for a place to get some action during this most action-packed month of the year, or you want to make your picks at a place that supports our show, mybookie.ag is the way to go. And today's episode is brought to you by MyBookie. What a coincidence. Oh, wow. Just use code ROSS upon sign up to unlock a deposit bonus. Stipulations apply, and you'll get even more dough to throw at the tournament this March. I'm not really a college basketball guy, but I fucking love March Madness. Every year as I watch it, it blows my mind just how different the college game is from the NBA, as a big NBA guy. And every year I fall a little bit more in love with all those differences as they create utter chaos on the court. I've had a ton of fun betting March Madness so far this year. I did all right in the opening round. Not great. Not bad, though. Just all right. And I'm looking forward to crushing the Sweet 16. So if you've got picks, I will be on Twitter asking for them. Holler at your boy. Let's stack paper together because, as I said, I know jack shit about college basketball, so I need help. MyBookie has all the prop bets, live lines, alternate lines, and futures that you could possibly need to enjoy the madness in March and all your favorite sporting events every other month of the year. And right now, if you join the MyBookie family using the code ROSS at checkout to support the show, you'll instantly receive a deposit bonus giving you even more dough to throw at your favorite sporting events. So what are you waiting for? If you're already betting on sports elsewhere and are down to do so on a great platform that supports your favorite podcast, code ROSS, R-O-S-S, at mybookie.ag is the way to do it, folks. Just use code ROSS to unlock that deposit bonus. Stipulations apply. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. In other sports news, The World Baseball Classic concluded last night, and thank fucking God, because I cannot stand to spend another minute of my life watching people bicker online about whether or not the WBC, as it is known, actually matters. Now, if you're asking yourself, what the shit is the WBC? It's the World Baseball Classic. It's like the closest thing baseball has to the World Cup. You know, soccer, World Cup, baseball, World Baseball Classic, okay? It takes place every 4 years with players representing countries, right? And in this most recent one, 20 countries faced off against each other over a couple of weeks. Last night, the United States faced off against Japan in the championship game, which Japan won to secure their record third WBC title after defeating the American defending champions 3-2, becoming the second team since the Dominican Republic in the 2013 World Baseball Classic to win the WBC with an undefeated record. Congratulations to Japan. Shohei Ohtani was named the World Baseball Classic Most Valuable Player. And if you don't follow baseball at all, Shohei Ohtani is a 28-year-old Japanese phenom who is one of the best starting pitchers in the game, while also being one of the best hitters in the game, while also being one of the fastest runners in the game, which is not a thing that happens. Ever. He's not just a generational talent, he's a complete package freak, the likes of which has never been seen, perhaps in modern sports altogether. It'd be like if somebody was the quarterback on their team, but also the fastest running player on their team, but also, it's not like that doesn't happen ever, but also played linebacker and was also the field goal kicker. Like, that's the level that this dude is contributing on a game-to-game basis when he's the starting pitch. Like, if you don't pay any attention to baseball, if you don't know baseball, by the time people are in the pros, very rarely is a professional baseball pitcher worth a flying fuck at hitting. They have to focus on the pitching. They suck. Historically, pitchers can't hit for shit. It just isn't a thing. Like, it's not a thing. That's why there's the designated hitter. That's why they suck. This guy does not suck. He's the opposite of suck. He's a monster. Both ways, pitching and hitting. Total freak show. Absolutely nuts. And in an insane moment of sports stars aligning, last night's championship game ended with Ohtani on the mound representing Japan, facing his Los Angeles Angels teammate Mike Trout, who is another one of the greatest to ever play the sport of baseball, and sadly, one of the great wasted talents in the history of sports, as the Angels have by and large failed to be competitive during his tenure. They're competitive, but they've never competed for a championship. They're not a World Series favorite. They never have been during Mike Trout's run. They're just not good. But Mike Trout, representing America as the United States trailed by 1, he's up to bat, 2 outs, 9th inning. Ohtani, the Japanese guy representing Japan, on the mound pitching, and they are also both on the Los Angeles Angels. It was just nuts. Ohtani struck Trout out, and that was that, and the World Baseball Classic is over, so now we can shift our focus to Major League Baseball's regular season starting March 30th, where unfortunately we will be missing several stars as a result of injuries incurred, you guessed it, during the World Baseball Classic, which is what caused all these arguments online about whether or not the tournament even matters. And as a fan of the team, the Houston Astros, who suffered a loss during the tournament in the form of Jose Altuve breaking his thumb when he was pegged, not that kind of pegged, by a pitch thrown by an American because Altuve was playing for his home country of Venezuela. My stance is, please leave me out of this. I do not want to talk about it. Congratulations to Japan. But yeah, the World Baseball Classic. Now you've learned something about sports if you're not a baseball person. Listen, I watched the final game. I watched the championship. USA was in it. It was kind of fun. It was an exciting moment watching Trout face Ohtani. It is not even close, in my opinion, to the intensity and the prestige of Major League Baseball's playoffs, much less the World Series. It's just not. Is it fun? Is it good for the game? Yes. Do I think it should exist? Yes. Do I have a problem with my team sending its players there? Not really. Not really. Freak accidents happen. It's sports, man. People get injured all the time. Injuries suck, but like, I'm not going to sit here and say that the World Baseball Classic shouldn't exist because of some really unfortunate injuries that occurred. The Mets lost their closer. The Astros lost their starting second baseman for the opening of the season. The Mets lost their closer for the whole year, so that sucks, and I get it. But also, you're the Mets. No offense, Mets fans, but you should be used to this kind of shit. And also, I mean, this is the karma that comes with your owner. I'm not even going to say his name here. Steve Cohen. I don't like the guy. I just don't like him. I'm sorry. It's like most people who aren't Mets fans don't like him, I don't think. It's just not great. Anyway, I'm moving on. In other big news, one Jared J-Bone Borislow will be zooming in from Wisconsin this Friday to join us on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast for our ad-free episode of the week. This will be Jared's first episode back on RBP since abandoning me to move to Wisconsin. I have missed him like crazy, as many of you have as well, I'm sure. So get your ass over to Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast, where you can gain access to all our ad-free premium episodes for as little as $5 a month, and you'll get to hear Jared's beautiful voice back on RBP this Friday. Support our show, get more, reunite with Jared this week on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast. If you don't know what Patreon is, you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or watching on YouTube or listening wherever. There's a bunch of different platforms that the show's available on. I don't care where you listen. That's great. Thank you for being here at all. It means a lot. But we only do one episode a week of these ad-based, as I'll call them, the ones that are, brought to you by our sponsors every week. We only do one of these. Then we do another episode that is ad-free. There are no sponsors. It's just brought to you by you if you are on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast. You subscribe on Patreon. It's $5 minimum to join the RBP gang officially, and you gain access to these exclusive ad-free premium episodes that drop every week, this week's of which will include Jared Borislow. Now, when you sign up, it's not like you sign up, you pay the $5, and then you wait till Friday till the episode comes out. You'll immediately gain access to our entire backlog of all the other ad-free exclusive premium episodes we've dropped on Patreon over the years. And there are a lot of them, like 100 or something like that, a whole bunch on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast at this point. And it's just barely more than it would cost you to go to Disneyland every day. If you had that pass that guy had, it was like $4 a day for him or whatever. It's $5 a month. Break it down this way. You usually get 4 episodes per month. There are usually 4 weeks in a month. We do one every week unless something goes wrong or I've got some kind of crazy scheduling conflict, and I try to make it up to you if that happens. But when you put it in these terms, it's like just over $1 an episode if you're in the $5 tier. There's also a $10 tier where you gain access to some other special stuff, the Enforcer tier, like mental health minisodes, which I try to do 2 of a month at least. There's already 1 out for this month. If you liked hearing me talk mental health more often, which is something I focused on more during the pandemic, and since then have made the strategic decision to have this show focus a little bit more on comedy and entertainment than I do on mental health and heavier topics, although we did lead today's show with something that could be considered a little heavier or mental health related. The point is, if you like that, patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast, join the Enforcer tier, or at the very least, become a part of the RBP gang by paying a minimum of $5 a month for all those ad-free exclusive premium episodes. It means a lot, and as the economy, as it is known, has been shaky for the last few fucking years now, sponsorships have been fewer and farther between. So it means a lot to have all of you there on Patreon directly supporting the show so that I can continue to do this full-time as my job and as the flagship podcast of Bolin Media. Means a lot. Thank you. Patreon, patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast. Man, it has been a while, but we have a birthday shout out today. Happy birthday, Hudson, from your wife, Annie. Appreciate you both. That will do it for today's show, but please support our sponsors by hitting the links in the description of this episode and using our dedicated codes, as that is how we pay the bills here at Bolin Media outside of Patreon. Hit hemphop.co, use code RBP for 10% off, or RBP20 for 20% off your order of $200 or more. That's HEMPHOP, hemphop.co. Go to manscaped.com, use code RBP for 20% off plus free shipping. Keep your downstairs mix up looking right and tight, plus your beard, your nose hair, your ear hair, You're a hairy animal. You got to take care of that shit. Manscaped has all the products you need. Manscaped.com, code RBP. And mybookie.ag, code Ross, to unlock a deposit bonus. Stipulations apply, and throw down on your favorite sporting event with our sportsbook sponsor here on the Ross Bolin Podcast, mybookie.ag, code Ross. To check out our other shows, go to bolinmedia.com. We've got Jared's F1 show, Formula Bone, back in full swing, covering all the latest F1 madness this season. We've got Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, starting coverage of Succession's final season this upcoming Sunday. It airs Episode 1, Season 4, the final installment of episodes for Succession, one of the best and most entertaining HBO shows and television shows, period, of all time. Love Succession. Really looking forward to digesting and discussing the final season on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Hit bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some RBP merch. I'm wearing my Horny for Sunsets t-shirt today from the shop. Horny for Sunsets. It's a good shirt. bolinmedia.com/shop to check out all of our merch. This episode of the Ross Bolin Podcast is presented by Bolin Media, and video of today's show was produced by Cade Orris. Go to youtube.com/@the Ross Bolin Podcast for full video of our show, plus funny clips. I will be back on Patreon this Friday with J-Bone. Until next time, peace be with you, and also with you.